I returned from a business trip to find my mother and sister had turned my downtown apartment into their personal resort. The spare key I kept hidden was gone from its spot. I knew this was more than a visit the second I saw a pair of unfamiliar leather boots kicked off by the door. In the kitchen, my imported olive oil was on the counter, half empty. The throw pillows I had arranged symmetrically on the sofa were now scattered on the floor. My mother's voice carried from the bathroom, singing along to a playlist I didn't recognize. "She needs a change of scenery," my mother said, walking out with a towel around her neck. She didn't ask how my trip was. She just handed me a pile of mail. "The divorce has been rough on us, you know. She needed this." My sister didn't even look up from her phone. She just waved a hand and said, "Your place is great." We already ordered dinner. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I pulled my suitcase into the smallest room, the one with the twin bed and the boxes I hadn't unpacked. I placed my bag down calmly. "Of course," I said, forcing a smile. "Make yourselves at home, please." But that night, I didn't sleep. I opened my laptop in the dark. I had a plan by sunrise. The first thing I did was change the lock code on the digital panel and reset the Wi-Fi password to a random string of numbers. I also made a call to my real estate attorney. The deed to the apartment was in my name only. No joint tenancy, no lease, no verbal agreement that gave them legal standing. They thought I would accept this because I am their daughter. But I had spent years building my career, and I wasn't about to let anyone, even family, reduce my sanctuary to a crash pad. I noticed the confusion in the morning. My sister was holding up her phone, shaking it. "Hey, the internet isn't working," she complained. And the code for the front door changed. "I updated the security settings," I said, pouring a cup of coffee. "I didn't think you'd need the high-speed network if you're just resting." My sister glared at me and walked away, still wearing my favorite cashmere cardigan. She didn't ask permission. She didn't even acknowledge it was mine. By midday, I had already called a locksmith to schedule a full rekeying for the following week. I knew they would both be out that day for a spa appointment my mother had charged to my credit card. While they were gone, I walked through the apartment taking pictures. My expensive candles were burned to the wick. My wool rug had a red wine stain near the coffee table. My shower was full of their shampoo bottles. They were treating my home like a hotel. I was no longer a daughter or a sister. I was a landlord who didn't exist. When I checked my bank alerts later that afternoon, I saw a charge for a luxury meal delivery service I don't use. They were using my saved payment information to order groceries. I immediately filed a report with the building's management portal. I reported unauthorized occupants and misuse of the common amenities. It wouldn't evict them immediately, but it would start a formal trail. I knew that patience was my strongest weapon. That evening, I came home to chaos. My sister had rearranged the living room. My books were piled up to make room for a yoga mat in the center of the floor. Music was playing from a speaker she had connected to my account. I didn't argue. I simply collected the evidence. I recorded the music, the mess, the noise levels. I gathered every piece of proof I could find. But the breaking point came at 2:00 a.m. My sister came home with friends. They were loud, laughing, spilling drinks on the floor. I had installed a security camera last month facing the entrance. I watched the footage the next morning. It was my insurance policy for the coming battle. The property manager called me the next day. "I've received complaints about noise from your unit. A party on a weeknight isn't permitted." I closed my eyes. "That's correct," I said into the phone. "I am handling it." Later, I printed out the building's regulations. I highlighted every rule they had broken: noise violations, unauthorized move-ins, misuse of resident amenities. I left the packet on the kitchen counter. My sister picked it up, laughed, and threw it in the trash. My mother didn't say a word. They thought I was trying to scare them. They were wrong. I filed a 30-day notice of violation with the building association. It wasn't an eviction notice for them specifically, but it was the first step in a legal procedure that would force the building to act. I had the videos. I had the statements. I had a timeline. Then I called a real estate agent. If they wanted to live in my space like they owned it, I would sell it right out from under them. My sister heard me making the appointment. She laughed out loud. Right, like you're going to sell the place. But my mother's face turned pale. She finally saw the look in my eyes. It wasn't anger. It was resolve. When the agent arrived, my sister was still in bed. My mother looked flustered when I showed strangers into the master bedroom. "Who are these people?" she asked, pulling the door shut. "Potential buyers," I said. She stared at me. "You aren't actually going to sell it." I didn't answer. I spent the week gathering comparable market prices, cleaning out my closets, and scheduling professional photography. I stopped cooking for them. I put my name on my own food in the refrigerator. I posted a moving date on the whiteboard, March 1st. I wasn't negotiating. I was asserting. At first, they ignored it. Then they started to worry. "Where are we supposed to go?" My mother asked me late one night. Her voice was low, almost pleading. I didn't look up from my book. That's not my concern. The next morning, my sister noticed the lock on my bedroom door. She slammed her fist against the wood. "You're insane," she screamed. "How can you treat family like this?" I kept my voice level. "I'm treating you like guests who overstayed their welcome." By the end of the week, I had 2 offers on the table. The numbers were solid. I accepted one of them. The morning of the final walkthrough, I packed my essentials into a few suitcases. I had already signed a lease for a smaller, quiet apartment across town. It was simple, bright, and entirely mine. I never wanted to sell my condo. I loved that place. But I realized that having them inside, it was eroding my sense of security. It wasn't a home anymore. It was a battleground. When the buyers arrived, my sister was still sitting at the kitchen island in her pajamas. She didn't look at me. She just stared at the coffee in her mug. The realtor gave a tour. Open floor plan, lots of natural light, newly refinished floors. My mother stood in the corner. When the buyers moved to the balcony, she approached me. "We made a mistake," she whispered. "But this is cruel." I turned to her. "No, it's not cruelty, it's clarity." She flinched. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came. I walked away. When the sale closed 3 days later, I gave them an official notice. 48 hours to vacate. The building manager assured me security would be available if needed. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The morning they left, my sister packed her things into garbage bags. She stomped around, throwing things, slamming drawers. She didn't apologize. She didn't shed a tear. She was just furious that she had lost. My mother lingered in the empty living room. She sat on the bare floor, staring at the wall. "We really messed up," she said. I stood in the doorway, keys in hand. She looked at me. "You're so cold now." I breathed in deeply. "I'm not cold, I'm done." I walked through the apartment one last time after they were gone. It echoed. The walls were stripped of my pictures. The closets were empty. It was just a box of concrete and glass. I left a single note on the kitchen island for the new owners. It said, "May you fill this space with respect, not demands." Then I closed the door behind me. I didn't look back. It's been a month since I handed over the keys. The sale is final. The chapter is closed. The silence in my new apartment is different. It's not the silence of walking on eggshells. It's the silence of a sanctuary restored. I sleep through the night now. I wear my own robe. I make my own coffee. My sister posted a dark quote online last week. "Some people forget who was there for them." I didn't respond. I didn't even react. She is allowed to rewrite the story however she needs to. My mother sent me a single text. "Hope you're okay." I deleted it. I don't miss the drama. I don't miss the guilt. I miss the idea of family, but I know now that the real thing was never there. I have peace now, and I earned it. They wanted to live in my life like it belonged to them. I had to let go of the property to keep my soul. No screams, no fights, just freedom. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to my channel for more stories about boundaries and self-respect.